Hey there, fight friends. We have a special treat today. We are joined by the main man from Fight League Atlantic himself, Derek Clarke. Derek, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much, Andy, for having me on.
Yeah, this is the second time. When I did the MMA show a few years ago, you were my first guest I ever had, so that was truly appreciated. And now here we are again, and things have changed slightly for both you and I, but mostly they're the same. I mean, you're still living your life, you're still teaching martial arts, and you're still putting on the best MMA show in the Maritimes.
Well, thank you very much, and you know doing the same, hosting the best show in the country and doing your thing and pushing the platform forward, and that's what it's about. A little bit older, a little bit grayer on my end, but
Mm.
still here. So thank you. You know, it's an honor to be on the first show and be back. So thank you.
Oh, hey, always, always for sure. So, why don't right off the bat, why don't we just, I'm sure we can talk about whatever we want to today, but let's start off with your next event. Fight League Atlantic 24 is happening on the 25th of April in Pictou, Nova Scotia. And so far, you've got five bouts that are announced for it. Just tell us a little bit about FLA 24 and if it's going to be the same as your other shows or something different or what's going on there.
Yeah, so FLA 24, back in Pictou, my hometown, the Shire town as we call it, a small little hometown of about maybe 2,500 people, and so far we have four pro fights on the card. Maybe we'll have five. We'll see what'll shake out here. But we have a great roster of pros and a great roster of amateurs as always. So probably about 10 to 12 fights is normal pro am show, and second fight on UFC Fight Pass, which is super exciting for us. Obviously, our first card February, a phenomenal event. The fighters really showed up, and Moncton showed up. It was a great crowd, and it's phenomenal for us. So we're kind of taking that kind of momentum and moving it into FLA 24 in Pictou, and just expecting a big year ahead.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah, I lost your camera for a sec, but you're back. So speaking of that, UFC Fight Pass is potentially a huge thing for you. It's going to get your organization exposed to a whole lot more eyeballs, non-Canadian eyeballs, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed it's not live. It's like a licensing deal or something. How's that working? So they'll replay Fight League Atlantic after it's over. And if so, is there ever a chance that you're going to be on the full time like live shows on UFC Fight Pass?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, it's a phenomenal deal for us, to be honest. The UFC, we've been kind of in discussions with them for a little bit now. Just kind of they've been, I guess we've been on their radar. I guess here in Canada, our athletes are doing really well, and our community and our scene here is, doing really well, and our events are doing great. So they approach us, and like I said, the deal's been just great because it's a we get to run our pay per view and then the video on demand on the other end where
Mm.
the product gets uploaded on UFC Fight Pass in front of millions of people. The fighters get to see their fights on the biggest platform in the world for combat sports, which is a no brainer, and it's good for us to they can get their eyes on our product a little bit more, like the UFC get our fighters on their eyes a little bit more, but more importantly, kind of develop our brand into that live event product at some point. So that's the plan. And yeah, we're super excited for video on demand and very happy to have what we have. It's for us, small town kids just doing what we love to do, and to
Mm.
be on a platform like that, it's an absolute honor and dream. And that for our fighters, that's the key, right? So it's awesome.
Yeah, you're right about doing it for the love of the sport. I remember before Fight League Atlantic even existed, you were putting on the Kumites. You were pretty well. Actually, I'm not sure if that was before FLA, but it was around the same time. I know the Kumites were there, and you were putting on events, and you were putting a lot of time and effort into it. And sometimes you expressed your, publicly, you expressed your sort of discontent, somewhat with like ungrateful athletes and things like that. I
Sure.
don't, whatever. But it seems like it's gotten to be to a pretty great state now where it's beneficial to everybody. So how did you, for the people who are new to Derek Clarke, maybe just talk about your background in combat sports or training? Was it jiu-jitsu you started or something else, and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, I kind of started late. I was 27 when I started jujitsu, so I was a little bit late. And guys like Dan Vanderlands and Mike Kitson were who I first kind of met, and then I ended up in a club, Pictou County Jiu Jitsu, with my coaches Jared McIntosh
Hmm.
and Jason Rorson, and I've been with them ever since. And I got my black belt in 2019, and just absolutely love the sport and what it kind of did for my life and just the people around me. It's an absolute, just like, you go to the gym and you see all these athletes, what they dedicate. And I'm, by no means do I think I'm a world-class fighter or anything remotely close, right? But I really love having that, like, I played team sports growing up, and I love that team camaraderie and that, like, that
Hmm.
support from one another, and people going through it and having the emotions of the up and down in the sport, and there's really nothing like it. And so if I can have, I come from an event planning background, so I kind of mix the two. Back in the day, what you're talking about is Submission Series Pro. So we used to do
Hmm.
those grappling shows where we would bring, like, like the Diego Sanchez or Tom DeBlas, or, all these guys would come in and compete against our local black belts. And, again, thankful for people like, Peter Martell and Mike Williams and
Hmm.
these people. They laid the groundwork of putting on events for us and for our athletes, to eventually guys like TJ and Gavin and Roger Hollett, and the list goes on from out here, who kind of laid the pathwork for what's going on now out here. And it's just awesome to see. So that's kind of how I got in the sport, just jiu-jitsu. And I have a kids club here now, and I love it. It's just it's become my life, and sometimes my identity, which my wife doesn't like so much. But it's awesome. I love the sport, and I'd rather have it no other way.
Well, I think they're lucky to have you out there, and I'm really happy that you took a moment to give flowers to the people who came before you. Peter Martell, of course, Extreme Cage
Yeah,
Combat. He ran that with Rob Walker and Kevin. What's Kevin Taylor? Kevin Taylor.
yeah,
There's three of
yeah.
them. They ran that,
Taylor
and
gang.
then yeah, and then Mike Williams. He did the Elite One in Moncton, or the New
Yeah.
Brunswick, anyway. Both great organizations, but they went their way and they stopped for whatever reason. How is it that you saw there was a need for you to step in and create Fight League Atlantic, and how was that process?
Well, obviously, John and I, like, going back to jiu-jitsu a little bit, like John, it's funny because John used to host, as you know, the VIA Open
Mhm.
grappling championships, which at that time was the largest grappling tournament on the East Coast, and he did a really, really good job with it for many, many years. And that was the first tournament I ever competed in. He was actually my ref, and during the match, and like we kind of got along early on, and we kind of need, like, Elite One was doing shows, Peter was doing shows, but they were very sporadic at the time, and I was heavily involved in the jiu-jitsu shows, and just kind of always compared in jiu-jitsu. I was like, BMX versus motorbikes, like motocross. What are people going to watch if they're side by side? And it's like they're always going to watch motocross because it's
Mhm.
louder, it's more action, it's more danger. And so I realized, like, through, like, just we would sell maybe 200 tickets in jiu-jitsu. It was a very niche sport. And I said, well, if I'm going to keep wasting my time, and John kind of said the same thing. He's like, let's try it. Like, we really have no idea what we're doing, but we can give it a shot. And we did the first one, and then we got shut down by COVID, and we were kind of in a little deep at that point because we did the first one, and we kind of got the itch and the addiction of what it is. It's because it's a very high rush. Like, it's a crazy kind of thing when you really when you do it. It's like a super. It's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's awesome. So, long story, long-winded answer, but yeah, that's why.
I bet, I'm not in your situation, so I don't know, but I can imagine that the lead up to the event is really stressful and nerve wracking and a lot of moving parts, and you're always probably a little frantic, some degree of
Yeah,
franticness, trying to
yeah.
get it ready. Do, when the event actually comes, are you able to sit down and actually enjoy it as it's happening, or are you still in that state of effervescence where you're all over the place, like concerned about everything?
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, John and I are different kind of, like, promoters, I would say, than a lot of other promoters, because, like, you'll see a lot of events, like, John's out back dealing with athletes. Sometimes he'll be like, he have fighters on the card sometimes as an amateur or whatever, right? So he's kind of runs the back room with the commission and does that kind of stuff, and I'm out front dealing with the front of house and the production and stuff. And there's been many times, like, we once our intro starts and I'm out back, like, our technical director will look at me, and once the show starts, like, when that intro comes on, he looks at me, and I'll be crying. He's like, man, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's just like the actual emotion after everything, because it's
Yeah.
like the commission and I always talk, and it's like, he says at 5 o'clock, he's like, you can build the muscle car, all the muscle you like, but he's like, at 5 o'clock, you hand me the keys, and that's
Hmm.
how it works. So it's like I always say, like, at 7 o'clock's coming whether I'm ready or not. So I make sure I'm ultra prepared. I'm ultra. as people who are around me know, like they like you're nuts, man. But that's like I'm one of a very few group of people, and John included, and a few other promoters that can do this kind of stuff, and that's why it's super difficult to do. And you have to have a wonderful team around you, filled with amazing people who really know what they're doing. And I'm very thankful that because we have a wonderful team, period, like who just really like, and also teams, like the teams make it really easy. Like it's a just the events become really smooth at this point because I think we
Mm.
just because going back to those jiu-jitsu events, right?
For sure. Now you said the name John twice now. So for people listening, that's of course John Foster. Well, I said of course, but maybe it's not of course to you. John
Yeah.
Foster is a former professional mixed martial artist. I've had the pleasure of watching him fight in person a handful of times, including when he got his wrist broken by Sung Jin Lim at an Elite One with a spinning heel kick. Oh my God, I
Mhm.
could hear that snap. Awesome guy. Maybe just take a second to talk about John and how he ties in with Fight League Atlantic. Is he a co-owner? How's that work?
Yeah, John and I own it together. Just to again, like we found that there was a niche there, and we both have really strong sides to what we bring to the business. I think like John is obviously he's a got a few other businesses, and so do I, and he's been like very very helpful for me behind the scenes and a lot of things, and he brings a lot of things that I don't have, and I have a lot of things that he doesn't have, and
Mm.
it really makes a great team. And he's a great business partner, great to listen to people, and just to vent to, and just kind of help lead the way and with a lot of knowledge. And so he's been awesome. Like again, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's a great guide for a lot of amateur fighters, and he's well known in the community too. So especially with that, he's been around, like you said, he fought back in the day, and he's been a big part of the community from there, and then do his grappling tournaments, and yeah, so he's just a great guy, and yeah, it's so it makes a good team. It makes it easy for sure.
That's great, and it's
Yeah.
reflected in the quality of the shows that you put on. I've yet to attend a live FLA, much to my chagrin, as you know. I really, really want to go, and see it in person. But online, it looks like it's a fantastic. It looks like it's well run, well organized. You've got people that are competent. Your announcers, Craig Ferguson, does a great job announcing. Everybody that seems to be there, from my external eyes, it looks like everyone's happy to be there, which is really kind of cool to see.
Yeah, we really preach environment at our shows. That's a big thing. Like I always said, like for me, I'm kind of like an event planner. I'm not a fight planner. Like our events are events are events. It's not a fight night. So you're selling an experience, and that's what like our technical director, our on-air team from Craig to Chris to Tim to Sarah, they all do a phenomenal job and bring something different to the production. And I think that's a lot of the what people really love is when they come to the event. It's an event. It's not just like there's a lot going on in between the fights. There's no waiting. It's like bam, bam, bam.
Mm.
It's like you open the doors on time. The show ends on time. There's never knock on wood bullshit other than the power going out. So like things like that. It's like and I will say too, our crowds, like we draw from three for different provinces, and as you know, the East Coast are a little bit of a different, funny, rowdy kind of crowd who love a good night out, and we have phenomenal fans, man, and a lot of them are young, like young kids who come out and just like have a ball of a time, and that's what we love here, man. We want to make it a good experience. We want people to come back, but also family friendly. Like you can bring your kids. It's not a like you see kid like Ben Leese. He might knock a guy out, and then next thing you know, he's out in the crowd taking a picture and having with the kid, and that's what we want, right? Build the sport in the right way, a classy way, and yeah.
You just said the words build the sport in a right way, in a classy way. And I think that applies as well to Fight League Atlantic itself. I think you've built it in a very smart way. And I've commented to this to you several times in that when you started out, it wasn't like you see a lot of fight promotions, they come into existence out of nowhere and they all of a sudden bring in like a UFC veteran for the main event. And sure, maybe a couple of the local people might recognize the name from a UFC or something, but to sustain an organization at a local level, you need to really have the support of local athletes and their support systems and their families and their friends and stuff. And you've done a great job with that from the start. Always bring in local guys. It was really at the start, it was like a lot of your fights were 0-0 fighters fighting 0-0 fighters. And then, the event later, you had a 1-0 fighter facing another 1-0 fighter. And pretty soon you've built up your roster. You've got guys who've been with you for 10 fights and more. They're having a lot of success. They've moved on to professional. Was that something that you really took the time to make sure you wanted to do at the start, or was there any other option?
Well, it was kind of a mixture of both. That's a really good question because, like, obviously, at that time, going back to like the other promotions at that time, like they did a really good job of building that crop of fighters, like the Savoys, the Pat Carrolls, the Aldrich Keys, the Justin Bourgeois, the Morgans, the guys who really like built again like the local stars in the community. So, and then it kind of was like again events were a little stagnant, and then of course COVID happened. So COVID really, like every community, it kind of delayed and derailed a lot of people's careers, a lot of people's businesses. So we had to really kind of restart. But that was always our goal. Like that was some coaches, I get into it with them because it's like I want 17 guys on this card, and it's like no. I'm like, this is how this whole business was built community focused. And when we went back to submission series, it was always, I said, that's how this is going to sell, because again, the 0-0 amateur fighter is going to sell 50 tickets, and the more he fights, unless he's a star, he's probably going to sell less. So like you have to be real special, because only so many people are going to continue to spend their money to keep coming to watch you every 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is. It's a very expensive sport to watch. So you have to be good, and you have to take those opportunities, and you have to kind of run with them. But that was always our goal, going back to like the pro amateur, like have this person from St. John fight this person from Antigonish, and this person from Cape Breton fight this person from Fredericton, or PEI versus wherever. So it was spread out, and all like you have everybody from one team. You sell no tickets. So it's some people miss that, but it's a business. Unfortunately, it's a business, and that's everybody's got to eat, everybody's got to make money, and everybody's got to have value for their time to move forward. And so John, again, been a great leader in the business department for us, and it's been going great. We try to do everything, like I said before, within our means, and that's very important for us. We try not to spend. We have amazing athletes, but you're not going to see us bring Shogun Rua in or Forrest Griffin to commentate or whatever. Like nothing but respect, but we just can't afford it. So.
In your opinion, who are some of the breakout fighters from the Fight League Atlantic structure that you've built? I'm talking about fighters that maybe can potentially become household names around the world at some point.
Well, you got the Mummy there, Abdel, he's got star written all over him. The kid is absolutely phenomenal. He's yet to be kind of tested, so we'll see what happens here in June. Hopefully he can defend his title and get the call, because like that kid deserves it. He's put in the work, and very, very short amount of time too. He hasn't been training that long, to be honest. I remember back when we were doing the Kumite, which like he started, and then he started tearing those up, and then just moved into MMA, and I guess that's why they call him the Mummy. But
that's of course Abdelaziz. And when I posted my interview with him a couple months ago, I think did he say he started when he was 30, something like that, or am I wrong?
No, I think he's 30 now, or maybe you're right. I think he might be 31 now, but I think he started a little bit before that.
Okay, yeah, I'm wrong.
I could be incorrect there too, but I think then obviously you got a couple other guys. Cam Nelson is right behind him. He's 6-1, who's a local kid who Henzo Gracie product. God rest his soul, Matt McGrath. Brought him up from amateur right into pro, and now he's splitting his time, and he's in Niagara Top Team too. And doing phenomenal. Great kid, represents the sport really, really well, represents himself well, speaks well, fights well, and definitely has star potential. Our champ in that same division at the moment, Jeff Craig, 170 pounds out of California. Kid is fighting. He's fighting coming up in dirty boxing, and then you can see him back. You're going to see him back defending the title, I would expect, in June.
Nice.
So that kid has a ton of star potential. He came here, and when he fought Christian, and hell of a fight. And not only that, he won over the crowd. Being an American, they booed him on the way out, and after he won the fight, they were applauding him. And he was just really good on the mic and really flashy. And then you got the other pros you got on our roster. We have a few other pros on our roster, but the one who's kind of made who's really made an impression on me as of late is Gino Poirier. He's
Yeah.
the kid. He's only 2-0, but more importantly, Andy, he's willing to fight anybody. Like I went through almost 120 people to find him his first fight with us there against
Wow.
Ruiz. It was a lot of work to
Hmm.
get him that, and he was willing to. He fought a guy with 15 pro fights on his, second pro fight. So even though it was a couple weight
Hmm.
classes below him, but just a great kid, all around good kid too. And you got Luke de St. Croix there, who just
Hmm.
he's a 3-0. He's been with us for a long time, former amateur champ and wonderful kid. Ben Leese, Rory Gillis, the list goes on and on. But the breakout stars that I think, like you say, could right now who are ready. I would say those top 3 or 4 guys.
Sure. Now you mentioned Gino Poirier. He's from TriStar in Montreal. It's not often that you see outsiders come to Fight League Atlantic. I'm not saying you never do it. It does happen, but it's not like it happens every card or half the cards sometimes are fighters from away. Most of the guys are local. How did you attract Gino to come? And do you see yourself bringing in more fighters from Quebec or Ontario in the future?
Well, it goes again. So Gino's local. So he's actually from just outside of Moncton
Mm.
originally, St. Louis de Kent. So he wrestled there. He grew up there. Sorry, my phone's at 10%. I might just have to run and get a charger in a minute. He wrestled and grew up there. And his brother Jeremy Poirier, who's also, I think you've had
Mhm.
him on the podcast as well. Wonderful kids. And the thing is, again, going back to it's a business. He sells tickets. He understands the task. He fights. He's exciting. Is a super exciting walkout. And like a lot of the times for us, like we'll sign guys to like an entry level contract, and we'll say, okay, like let's see how it goes. Almost like it's like a probation period. If anywhere else you would go to work, if it's not working out, then okay, after 2 or 3 fights, then all right, maybe we'll just do one-on-one contract kind of
Mhm.
thing, right? So that way you can fight more or whatever it happens to be. So, but he's from TriStar. He's super easy to work with, and we're definitely open to more. Like again, him being local and selling tickets is important, but as we grow as a promotion, I think you're going to see, at the pro level, you're going to see other guys, come look at Jeff Craig. He's our champ. He's
Mhm.
from California. We're going to fly him in to defend his title. So, we're committed to that. We want to keep growing. And I think, the bigger we get, you're definitely going to see that happen.
Nice. Yeah, I knew Gino trained at TriStar. I didn't realize he was local. So thank you for correcting me on
Yeah.
that. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 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 Great kid.
Something else you said about how it took you, 120 fight offers to get him a fight. I had a great conversation with Unified MMA owner Sonny Serene about a month or so ago, and we
Mm-hmm.
talked extensively about that, about how he gets really annoyed with the fighters who really want to cherry pick to the nth degree the type of fighter they want. Like he said a phrase like they only want to fight a guy who's 1-5 in his last 6 events. What's your experience like with that with the local fighters to FLA? Are they mostly willing to just fight, or do they want to be very specific when they get an opponent?
Everybody's different, and it's at first, when that used to happen, because I do a lot of the matchmaking myself, and amateur, for me, I'll tell you, and like I've told a lot of fighters, like an amateur, it's like I there's not a lot of tolerance for it, to be honest. Like it's if you don't
Mm.
want to accept the fight, then I guess we're just going to move on to someone else who wants to fight. And there's not really we have a business and we have an event to put on, so we can't let everybody just. I get it. I understand. It's like I want things cheaper and I want things easier for me too. Like it's the nature of the human beast, but it's unfortunately for us we just can't do that because if everybody got treated that way, then
Hmm.
it's not a sustainable business, especially if you don't sell tickets. I can't stress that enough when like it's a business. So you like at the end of the day you have to sell tickets. So if you're selling tickets, maybe you'll have a little more pull.
Mm.
It's just that simple. But if you're not selling tickets and you're costing $7,000 to put the fight on, you sold 20 tickets, you don't really have that leverage. So
Sure.
it's everybody has a different roadmap, I guess. But it's 100%. Yeah, I think it's I don't I understand it, but I don't like. Again, I'm not a fighter, but I certainly know what going through tough times are like and putting on events and not, like dealing with that kind of stuff. And you have to go through those tough times for when you're ready for the UFC too. So I don't know. It's super difficult, and I don't want to call anybody out by any means, but
Mhm.
it's a matchmaking. It's I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Let's just say that.
It's a challenging job, I'm sure, but
Well, you
I'm
got to
sure.
take emotion out of it and just be like, listen, that's a coach who's trying to get the best for their guy.
Mhm.
And so if you take all the emotion out of it, that's all I do now. I'm just like, you know what? It's just a coach trying to get the, and I can't do it right now, but maybe down the road that'll work out. But right now, that's not going to work out. So it's not like sometimes I think some people take it like emotionally, but it's like it can't be. It has to because you're
Mhm.
dealing with so much, right? So it can't be. I don't think.
Yeah. Let's move on now to the future. Do you and John have a game plan or goals for Fight League Atlantic moving on the future?
Yeah, we definitely do. There's a couple things on the radar, but for our number one, operating right now out of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, so two provinces. And then in 2026, you're going to see us move, or 2027, you'll see us move into a third province. I can't say exactly when it's going to happen, but and I shouldn't say guarantee, but Prince Edward
Hmm.
Island is very close to hopefully getting things in place where events can happen, and we've been working with them tirelessly to really make that happen. They've been great to work with, and I think you're going to see it pass in legislation here in the spring, and hopefully we can get over there very soon. So that would be great for us. We have three provinces. We can do two shows in every province, which is really phenomenal for us. Like, again, going back to like staying within our means, staying in our lane. That's for us. We like I try to explain it to people a lot. Andy, you lived out here, and some people don't quite understand that the East Coast is a little bit of a different place than
Mm.
everywhere else. It's a lot farther than people I think it is,
Yeah, they have
and
no idea.
it's a lot harder to do business out here, and like to get people together to do big events. It's you don't have the millions of people. You have very small groups of people who are making these trips over to come to these events. So it's a really fun thing to be a part of, but we've taken it really slow. The growth is slow on purpose, and yeah, I think you'll continue to see us do that. Like we want to make sure it's done right, done it classy, and slow growth so everybody's happy. And because we're not out here to lose money. You
Hmm.
know, we're not out here to lose money. We're out here to do things the right way, and hopefully we can continue forward. So yeah,
Now I'm pretty sure I know the answer already, but I'll ask the question regardless.
yeah.
What about Newfoundland? Is it something that could ever happen with Fight League Atlantic?
I think for sure it's something that could happen. Again, you're talk about expenses. It would be like going to the moon, I think, but it would be,
It'd be exponential, sure. Yeah.
it really would. Even like, like again, like people like commissions are like I heard, Sonny talking about it on your podcast too. Like the government and the commissions to regulate the sport is extremely expensive for people who don't understand how these events work. And it's fine. I'm okay with it because at the end of the day, they're taking the responsibility and they're the ones taking the liability if things happen, which needs to be a thing. Like it has to be
Hmm.
regulated right if you want the sport to grow. So that's where people complain about the UFC, but it's like they've given you a product like NASCAR now that is on every single week, and it's streamlined. It's just the same thing, but it's there every week in front of you, whether you like it or not. It's so. Sorry, going back to Newfoundland, like I can't say that like obviously it's like going to PEI here, like so it's taken them, probably just like you dealt with in Ontario. It's the I's have to be dotted, the T's have to be crossed, and it has to be done the right way. So I would say once you see PEI get up and running, and then maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you might see us in PE or Newfoundland, and we would love to get over there. We like to be in all four provinces would be incredible for us. So that's our growth goal. We're not looking to go, to any other province or anything like that at the moment. Like I said, we
Hmm.
stay in our lane and just try to give back to the Canadian combat sports community and do the right thing. So it's not about being bigger than we are, like I said.
Yeah, I've just thought of a question that I didn't have pre-planned, and so I don't know really anything about this. So I'll just ask you. I know in the past that BFL in British Columbia Samourai in Quebec and Unified in Ontario have all piggybacked events the night prior to a UFC event when they come there. So, like, say if the UFC is fighting in Vancouver on January 10th, then on the 9th, BFL will have a fight
Mhm.
with an event with Canadian fighters, and the UFC
Yeah.
is like international fighters. If the UFC ever had a show again in the Maritimes, is that something you'd consider doing?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. We plan to do some big things with the UFC in the future, and we're at their beck and call, man. We like, so far we've loved working with them. They've been great to work with, for us. One big thing that we have out here that, is a huge advantage compared to a lot of other promotions is, again, from doing this from the long, long time, we own a lot of our own gear, and we stream all of our own product. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the same crew that's been doing, like, I've probably done 100 shows with my director at this point, between our jiu-jitsu shows back in the day and me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a ton of practice, and we just keep buying and buying and buying. So yeah, I think there's a ton of, like, potential that way, where we have that ability where a lot of other promotions just don't have that.
Yeah, I think when you look at anything, any endeavor, it's always a discussion to be had whether or not purchasing or leasing equipment's the way to go. But the true benefit to owning your own stuff is that you don't have to wait on other people's timelines. You don't have to worry about what they say, if they say yes or no, if maybe they just got into a car accident and they're in the hospital for a month and they can't get to your request. Like, you've got your stuff, you can do it. There's really nobody who can tell you can't.
No, that's the thing. Like, the John and I always say that the more we can control, the better, right? Like, because in our business, it's all vendors, it's all variables that you're, like, from everything, from the fighter who getting his medicals, from a doctor, to then getting on a plane, flying here, like 10 of them, to all your other athletes doing that, to your hotels, to your commissions, to everybody showing up, do what they're supposed to do and not be sick. It's quite commendable, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
that people, like, events even happen. And I think in our everyday life now that we've we I always say, in life now, people kind of live their life like Instagram, like it's a very, everyone says, like, such a short memory, like they don't even focus on anything. And it's events are a beautiful thing, but we really don't, like, and I'm like, there's a couple guys on my staff who are like, man, you're a psycho, because you never appreciate what you guys just did. Because I'm always like, I can't, because you ask about during the event, like, during the event, I'm still running the social media, or I'm out back dealing with pay-per-view
Mm-hmm.
issues, or I'm dealing with the commission, or whatever it happens to be. So you're dealing with that. And then I finally kind of, like, on Sunday when I get home, I'm just like, but at that point, you're working on the next event already and the next fighters, and so it's just like, it's a fun thing, man, but it's tiring for sure.
Another thing I've appreciated about Fight League Atlantic for quite some time, almost right from the beginning, was that your graphics are excellent when you have social media posts and things like that. The event posters are really well done when you've got the fighter matchups, the one fighter versus the other fighter on the page. Everything looks seamless. I think that was you that did it for the longest time. Am I right?
No, I didn't. So earlier, like early in the day, John, I think, did FLA one. No, Adam Frazier. He was a guy who was involved with my jiu-jitsu events, and he was involved in the early FLA one. But he did the first one, and then Dave Fretz. Shout out Dave. He's a good. He lives in Ayr, Ontario. He's been down to quite a few of our events, and he's been our graphics guy since FLA. I want to say FLA 3. FLA 3
Mm.
onward, he has been involved. So we have a really good graphics team. We have a really good videography team. We have 3 different videographers who work for us, and Sam as well, Samantha Armstrong. She does the photography for our events, and we just have a good team, good group of people. And Fretz is a true pro at what he does. He makes it look so easy, and yeah, it was a real struggle for the longest time getting them, pictures from fighters, or to pose the
Yeah.
right way. And but through the time, you make templates and make things easier on your. He's been very patient. Let's just say that.
Well, please pass to him for me that he's got a fan in me. He does a great job. I really like your graphics.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, you cut off there for a second.
Oh, I said for sure, definitely. Yeah, he's probably a big fan of you too.
Do you bring him down for every event? Does he take pictures the night of?
No, so he's came down for probably, I would say he's been down for probably 4 or 5 events, maybe. I would say maybe less than
Mm-hmm.
that, but a lot of times he just works from home, kind of thing. But we're, for us, again, our production, like, I've worked with a couple other productions, and we're so like, and I'm not trying to pat ourselves in the back too much here, but we're very organized, and I think that just goes back to like, look at a fighter like a guy like, TJ or Gavin or these guys who are like so polished in what they do when they're coaching, and that's because preparation, right, at the highest level.
Hmm.
And that's for us. I think it's just the same thing. We're very organized, and Dave is on spot with everything he does, and Danny, our director, so it makes life kind of easy in a really hard environment.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek, I think I've exhausted my question pool, so I think we're going to let it go here. I'm just wondering, though, before we go, is there anything that you think we should have talked about that we didn't talk about?
No, I just want to, wish everybody in the Canadian community a strong 2026. Hopefully, Mike Malott takes and Jazz take these victories home in April, and the rest
Mm.
of the Canadian fighters, and everybody keeps kind of, is it's as hard as it. You don't have to work together, but I think you have to kind of, I don't know, I don't know, edit that out, I guess, about working together. But it's, I wish everybody has a great year, and we're just going to continue to focus doing a great thing out here, and hopefully lots of fighters from Canada get the call.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that in there because I think it's an important message. I think it's true. I think we're all in this together. I think we're all working together towards a certain goal. And unless you're standing across me in a cage with the door about to close, you're not my enemy. I want the best for you. I want you to kick ass. I want you to do well. So, in that respect, I think you're right.
Well, and that's where it is, and I've learned like through the years, though, Andy, because it's worked together. But I've learned in this business, though, because again, it goes back to your ticket sales, and if you can't sell tickets, you don't have a business, and it only takes
Hmm.
one bad event in this sport for your business to shut down. That's what people don't understand. It's not like a needs or a convenience store that's always going to be there. It's
Mm.
like for fighters, they don't understand that. Listen, one bad event, maybe you don't have a promotion at all. So it's
Yeah.
like, if the sport is made for people to kind of turn on promoters and fighters to turn on each other, and it's just a weird, because it's not like I always say, like in major junior hockey or other hockey, you're brought up to a certain level. You're taught how to talk. You're taught how to act. You're taught how to do certain things, and that's how it is. And then eventually you get drafted and whatever. MMA is a little bit of a different case, obviously, and as it should be, but it's just, I think working together is the ultimate goal for sure. And if you're not about fighter progression, and if you're not about the athletes truly getting to the highest level, then I don't know why you're doing this at all.
Yeah, and that's something else. I'm glad we're continuing this conversation somewhat. I encountered you and John at a Samurai event in Montreal or Gatineau last year, the year before, and it seems like you've got a really good relationship with other Canadian promoters. And so I absolutely love to see that because when I started out in the day, it was like if like somebody put on an MMA event, then like the opposing gym in the same city, they wouldn't let their fighters fight in it because they didn't want the other team to have any record. It was all silly, but I
It
really like the way
is.
I like the way you do it.
Well, man, like I say it a lot. I'm a guy who went through a pretty scary experience at a young age, and I always say I repeat it a lot. Like, you get one kick at the can, and at the end of the day, we're gonna be old and thinking about this and be like, man, what a time that was. Think of how amazing
Mhm.
that was. And that's how I look at my life, because everything ends at some point. Like, and nobody's the mecca, and nobody's gonna like whatever. At some point, the journey ends for us all. So when you're here, you might as well give an impact, give back to the community, and have a damn fun time when you're here. So that's for me. It's a great fun. I love being a small part of the journey of these athletes, and I'm a fan of the sport. It gives me goosebumps thinking of Mike Malott as the main event.
Mhm.
Like, I remember the story. I'll never forget, Andy, a quick story, but like that, going back to John's tournament at Abaya. And this is when Peter Martel, like, he had Titans MMA. And remember, they all had their track suits. And these guys
Mhm.
were like gods to me as a white belt, never trained a day in my life. And you go to the tournament and you see Malott and Rorson and Gavin and all these guys in their track suits. And I'll never forget, Mike Malott was sitting there beside the mat, and I was watching a fight, and he just kind of started talking to me, just like, hey, how are you, whatever, right? And it just really shows you a true character of what somebody is like, because he didn't
Mhm.
need to talk to me at all. Like, but he probably at that point had like 3 or 4 pro fights, and was just a super humble
Mhm.
guy. And if he was rude to me, I might not be here today. It's those little interactions that really build in this sport, and show you what people are really like. So I love it, man. I think it's awesome, and I'm just it's to me like John and I said like to go to UFC events or like to eventually maybe get to go to the Apex. Like we're not in Toronto. We're small town Nova Scotia boys. So it's like a dream come true for us to even be mentioned in the name of UFC, right? So it's awesome. We love it, and yeah, whatever happens happens, but we're going to keep grinding her out.
That's such a good story about Mike. I'm going to make sure that he hears it and this your words get to him. Are you going to be in Winnipeg on April 18th?
I don't know yet. I think that probably you'll see us there, but we haven't made the decision, but I think probably yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure. So hopefully I run
Oh,
into you.
nice. Okay, awesome. Yeah, great.
Now, I this is kind of a couple things. It's funny how the more we talk, the more there is to talk about.
Yeah.
You mentioned about having a scary something in your past. Is that something you're willing to talk about? You want to share, or you don't have to if you don't want to?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've mentioned it before. I thought I mentioned on the podcast. Or I when I was 11, I got hit head on by an 18 wheeler.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. So it's it was kind of a crazy story. My grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather passed away in the accident, but I was it was nuts like how fate works because I tried to sit behind him when we got in the car and he said like I wanted to pretend to drive and he said no, I'm putting the luggage there, and I sat on the other side, and whatever happened in the car, but the car when it smashed, it hit the left side of the car. So my grandmother and I survived, but he didn't
Wow.
because the car smashed the left side. So yeah, it was pretty traumatic thing at a young age, and kind of it's been a challenge for some parts of my life for sure. But yeah, everybody's got issues and everybody's got things they got to go through. And again, going back to jujitsu, it helped me a lot in my late 20s because I played sports my whole life. But then I was like, oh, what am I going to do, now? Like as I keep getting older, and then I found jujitsu and realized that getting choked or choking people made me feel a lot better. So
Well, you actually had told the story before, but this is more for the benefit of the people watching because I think it tells something about you. And you just mentioned how it gives you perspective on life. Tomorrow we could be gone, and I just want to share something else with you. I'm a student of history. I love history. I've been a fan ever since I was a little boy. I got that from my father. So I'm going to tie in your story to the story about Roman generals back in ancient Rome. So whenever a general would have a great victory in Rome, they'd come back into Rome proper and they'd have what's called a triumph. A triumph is it's a big parade where the whole city comes out and they line the roads, line the avenues, the paved cobblestones, and the Roman general goes by in his chariot with being pulled by the horses, and they all throw laurels at him and roses at him. But one thing people don't might not realize if you ever take a look back at most of the accurate representations, any paintings or drawings of these triumphs, there'd always be the Roman general, and there'd be a second person in the chariot with him. And the second person could have been a nobody. Could have been just a regular soldier. It could have been a family member. I don't know who it could have been, but that person had a very, very important role. And that was as they were going through, and the Roman general was getting all the accolades and all the acclaim and all the roses and all the cheers and the claps. That person would lean into the general's ear and whisper very quietly, "Memento mori, memento mori," over and over. And memento mori is a Latin phrase that means someday you will die. And that was just to remind the general at the time, hey man, don't get your head too swollen. You're not going to be here long. You're going to be gone someday. Just enjoy this way you can, and don't get too big for your britches.
yeah, that's a cool story, and it's so true because we all like I've been as guilty of it too. Like you're out there and you're promoting the sport and whatever. It's like hold on, humble, stay humble, man. You're nobody. You're literally nobody. You drive a Ford Focus. Relax. Like it just be yourself and try to be a good person. That's truly what I live my life by, and that's what FLA stands for, man. Be good vibes, good people, and I can be a stressy guy. Like during the events, like people are like, man, what's wrong with you? But like they really, and I try to not to put myself in their position, but they can't put themselves in mine either. So it's like it's not about figuring out why each one. Like we just know that the show's going to start at 7, and you're going to have a good time. That's all you need to know.
That's great. On
So
that note, Derek Clarke, we're going to get going. I just want to thank you so much for all your time. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or anything you'd like to say finally on your own before we sign off?
yeah, I'd like to thank my team, everybody at Fight League Atlantic who really works tirelessly behind the scenes to make the events happen. Our sponsors as well, from Phillips Fishery and Ethan all the way, Kier McLeod Siding here, and all of our other phenomenal sponsors. And I'd like to thank you for what you do in Canadian combat, man. I know it's like we talked about before. It's tireless sometimes and often thankless, but you're well respected here on the East Coast, and we love. Hopefully we can you can grace us with your presence again here, buddy.
I promise I will. I just don't know when. But yeah, okay, Derek. Thanks, man. You're a true diamond. I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. And there you go, fight friends. Derek Clarke, co-owner of the Maritime's premier MMA organization, Fight League Atlantic. Next show is FLA 24 on April 25th in Pictou, Nova Scotia. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, thank you.
Leo Bonin, congratulations on your impressive victory at Unified MMA 68 last weekend.
Thank you very much.
So it's a few days removed now. Give us your reflections on the fight. And
he hits hard and he hits fast. As you can see, there's a big black eye right here.
Yeah.
Some cuts and scrapes all over the face, but
a war wound.
Yeah, exactly.
So give us your thoughts on the fight, the impression of the fight. How did it go compared to how you expected it to go?
It was expecting, I was expecting him to come out there with a flurry, not quite as initially as he did. He came out there and just immediately took my head off, and I dropped 2 times. Yeah. But we got back up, and then it slowed down, and then it turned into more my fight where we were grappling and exchanging and getting closer and closer. And then when I got him to the ground, I knew. It's a weird feeling when a lot of jiu-jitsu guys will understand this when they hear this, but when you're on top of somebody and you know your levels above them, you just know what's happening next. Like even when he threw in that heel hook and tried to rip my knee apart, I just rolled out of it, jumped on the back, did exactly what I've been doing for years. Go after the back, attack the neck, the safest place in the fight.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, before we get too much further into the interview, take a moment and just introduce yourself to the audience, say who you are, where you're from, and how you got involved in combat sports.
Yeah. My name is Leo Bonin, Leo the Lion in the Cage. I'm from, I was born in Red Deer, Alberta. I live in Sylvan Lake, Alberta now. Born and raised, and I got into karate when I was about 4 with Chinese karate, and then I got into Arashido Jiu-Jitsu when I was about 12, 13. Took a bit of a break in high school because I just had to get my high school diploma and get into college and stuff, but then I got back into it and been steadily MMA, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all the works since. So basically my whole life I've been in martial arts.
That's awesome. And you're 27 years old right now?
Yes, sir.
Describe your fight style to the audience.
I am in your face, a lot of grappling, a lot of wrestling, pressure, kickboxing, if you can call it that. Sometimes it looks a little wild. I'm a bit of an anarchist when it comes to the fighting. I just want to get in there, get my hands on you, and throw anything I can at you to win.
Awesome. Your father is, I've chatted with your father quite extensively. He's a huge proponent for you in your career. He's always making posts about you, and every time something happens with you, he messages me and he sends me videos constantly. What's it like having a support system like that that's just so overpoweringly positive and supportive of you?
It's probably one of my biggest motivators, I'd say, is that doing not just for myself, but all the people that put the effort and the time into me is amazing. It feels great. It's nice knowing that your people in your corner have your back. Like all my coaching and stuff is very, very tightly knit. We eat together, we play together, we enjoy each other's time together, and we train hard together. So it's very, very family oriented style.
Yeah, that's important to note, because I think a lot of people, well, maybe not people that are in our circles, but maybe outsiders, people just regular fight fans, I tend to think that they think that MMA is a solo sport. It's an individual sport because you get one fighter in the cage against another fighter, but it's anything but. It takes a community, like you said. Without support of a whole bunch of people, you're not going to go anywhere fast.
Yeah, it takes a village, or however the saying goes, to raise someone. So it's, especially in a sport as demanding and as aggressive, and so many things can come into your head at any time. I've woken up with messages with people hate messaging me where I just have to ignore it. Luckily, my dad and my coaches have access to my social media, and I just go silent about 2-3 weeks out from a fight. So I don't have to see any of that. So it's nice.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a really good idea, actually. Talk about where you train right now and what your team's like and who your training partners are and your coaches.
My main coach is in Red Deer and Sylvan here with Black Dragon with Gilbert Lafontaine
Mm-hmm.
and with Kenneth Summers out in Sylvan there. They're my probably two most highest level coaching that I'm at all the time. I travel to Calgary to train with Kurt DeMars,
Mm-hmm.
and every so often I'll maybe go up to Edmonton with some people, but I try and stick to the one route back and forth from Calgary to Red Deer.
Sure, yeah.
Nice, and a lot of good training partners. I have my brother lives in Calgary there, Jaden. Me and him probably we beat each other up like we're in a fight every time we're training together. So that's a really good training partner. And then I got some younger guys they're actually competing this weekend that have pushed me because they're fresh. They're 16, 17, 18 years old. So they're full of energy. So they'll just come at me and at me and at me. So those are really good guys.
Some of those kids these days, the youngsters, like the late teenagers, it's incredible how good they are. I mean, back in my day, 35-year-olds weren't that good.
No, there wasn't. Now there's a kid who's competing this weekend, Vitali, sorry, his name. He would smack me around, put 15-year-old me and 15-year-old him. He would dog walk me. He would dog walk me. I just beat him now because I just got man strength and more experience.
Yeah. So you're in Red Deer. You said you're in Red Deer or Sylvan Lake?
Both. I work and train in Red Deer, but I live in Sylvan Lake.
Cool. I'm curious to know what it is about fighting that you like. I mean, a lot of people train martial arts and maybe kickboxing classes or jiu-jitsu, but to make the step into actual competition and now professional competition where you're actually getting paid to put your body on the line, what is it about the whole process that enthralls you the most?
The process mostly, well, it's been in my blood my whole life. For Pete's sake, my grandmother, her first date with my grandpa, he got into a fight in front of her on the hockey rink in like 1968 or something like that. So I'm from a family of fighters, and that's, if anybody knows my dad, they know when he was bartending, there would always be big brawls that he'd always be in the middle of. My uncle, same thing. Even my aunt got in a bunch of high school fights all the time. Even on my mom's side, we come from a bunch of German-born fighters that are all out there and athletes from there. So that's just the history, and the reason I like it is I don't really feel good anywhere else. I like the gym. I like competing. I like having fun, and these kids that are coming up, like you were saying, they're just so good, and it's fun to mess with them, and like, I'll throw a head kick at them and they'll shoot a takedown, and now I'm having fun. It's fun. I find MMA and martial arts very fun to do things with, and I wouldn't really be me. I would be bored out of my mind if I didn't have it.
Yeah. Are you able to train MMA full time, or do you have a job outside?
I have a part-time job right now. I just work down at a U-Haul in Red Deer here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you got to pay the bill somehow, hey?
Do have to pay the bills until we get on the bigger shows.
So Unified is actually, as far as regional shows go, Unified's a pretty decent sized show. It's good. They've got great production. Sunny Serene has really turned it up the past handful of events. I mean, even the weigh-ins are really cool now. What's it like fighting for Unified and knowing that they like you?
It's awesome. I got lucky right after the pandemic happened. They picked me up as an amateur, and I was 0-1, so I wasn't really a good hot take, but got 3 consecutive wins with them as an amateur. Fought the top guy in the country at the time, Usman Khattak. Took a bad loss, but we moved on, had another win, took a loss, then went pro. I love fighting for them. They're probably one of the best organizations, probably top 10 in the world right now, just for production value and what they can bring in. Like, they brought a gentleman in to fight me from Morocco.
Wow.
Like, all the way across the world. Like, yeah, he came to Canada to train, but he's from like totally across the pond. Like, they can really pull strings, and they really have a lot of connections. So I'm really excited that I got to fight, I think 12 times for them now, 11 or 12 times.
And of course, they're planning on Sunny Serene is intending to start the Dubai Fight League. So he hopes to bring some Canadian fighters over there at some point. That'd be kind of cool to go on as well.
Yep. I hope so too. We'll see where we're at. Now, basically, I know the belt right now at 145 is what I really want, but they're fighting for it. So I might have to wait a fight or 2 for that one, but I'll take whatever I can get after. If it's with Unified or if a bigger show like PFL or UFC calls, there's always there's always opportunities, and I'm happy that I got to have the opportunities with Unified. They've given me those opportunities, and they're they're the biggest show in Canada. So everyone's eyes are on them when they're playing.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the featherweight, the 145 belt for Unified. Former champion Matteo Vogel has been injured for a couple of years. Hakeem Dawood is the current champion, and he's defending that title against Matteo coming up. Who do you like in that fight, and who do you think is going to win?
It's hard to say. I've seen both of them fight live. I saw Vogel's last live performance when he beat John Nugent for the belt back in 24 or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
I think
a
it was
couple years
24.
ago, yep.
And he looked real solid. Like, he just shot takedowns, dominated him on the ground, even on the feet. Looked like he won most of the exchanges. So he's not someone to trifle with easily. Definitely on the ground, I'll give him the edge 100%. If it hits the ground, I think Vogel will take it. But if it stays standing the whole fight, you can't deny one of the best strikers in Canada, right?
No, he's scary. He's scary good on the feet.
Yeah.
I'd like to
So
take
I would say it depends on where it goes. I won't take a side because I'll fight either of them. I want to fight both of them. It would be not at the same time, but maybe back to back. We could do something. But overall, I think on the feet, Hakeem's got it. Goes to the ground, I'm giving it to Vogel.
Yeah, that's a pretty valid assessment. So that's a good idea. I'd like to take a step back and go back in time a little bit. Let's go to your fight before this past one where you fought Nick LeBlanc. Going into that fight, a lot of people were saying that you were the underdog going into that fight. Not everyone, but online it seemed to me like a lot of people were expecting Nick to win. Your father, on the other hand, as I mentioned, he talks to me behind the scenes. What was your perspective on the fight leading up to that? Did you feel like an underdog, or did you know that you were going to take that fight?
I did feel like an underdog. I won't deny that. He had, was he 5-1 at that time? Yeah, he was 5-1, and he had like 15 or 16 kickboxing matches where he had a dozen or so knockouts from there, like from years prior. It was a bit of a, what do you call it, heart pounder going all the way into it until we started fighting, and then I realized I could swing with him. Yeah, he got some good shots on me, but I got some good shots back on him. And the minute we hit the ground, like I said, whenever I hit the ground and I'm on top of somebody, I usually can feel that dominating wind coming out of anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing well, man. It's probably too early to ask when your next fight is, but I'm willing to bet you're going to want to get back in there in a couple, 2, 3, 4 months. So up until then, talk to us about what's a typical training week look like for Leo Bonin?
Training week is you wake up way too early, probably 6, 7 o'clock for me. And some people might be, that's pretty late too, but it's early for me. I hit cardio, usually a weight session of some sort, depending on the day. I don't do the classic, I lift things up, I put things down. Sometimes it'll just be a neck workout day. Sometimes it'll be a back workout. I have a whole system that works for me really efficiently. And then every day it's either doing some kind of kickboxing work right after I'm done here at work, doing some jiu-jitsu, and then either some sparring rounds, something like that. And then I go home, go recover, have a shower, pass out, repeat the same thing. I try and spar about twice a week. If I'm really getting close, if it's a really big fight, like when I was going up against Nick, I think I was sparring 4 times a week. Just getting there. For this gentleman that I just fought there, I think it was at 3 times a week, and then you just taper off as the time goes on. But I definitely want to spar early while I can, and then later in my career, I'll probably be doing the max all the way, like probably sparring once or twice a month. Sticking away from it so you save your head.
Yeah, a lot of fighters don't even go hard when they spar too, like no strikes to the head, just really light taps and touches, which is probably a good idea for longevity.
Yeah, I've probably done, for this last camp, I think I only did 5 hard sparring days leading up to it. Everything else was just positional work, like hard rolling, like guys are trying to keep you on the ground, trying to go after submissions. That you can go hard with that, but when it comes to strikes to the face or body shots, like you do have to be really careful. And I have very select few people that I go over 60% with sparring.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know where I know your name is Leo, but where did the lion persona come from? And you come out to the entrance, you've got the lion headdress on. It's kind of scary. How'd that all come about?
The name itself, I was getting, even before I was fighting, people would call me Leo. Sorry. Just getting over a little bit of a bug here. Sorry.
That's all right.
But the name itself, I just like the name Lion, Leo the Lion. It just rolls off the tongue pretty easily, and it's a nice persona to grab. The headdress was my dad's idea. I didn't wear it for my first Unified fight because I was a little embarrassed by it. I will say that it was a little embarrassing. But then Sonny there, who's runs Unified, he asked me, he's like, "Where's the lion head? The last amateur fight I saw you on, you were wearing one. Where was it this time?" I was like, "Okay, I'll wear it next time. I'll start wearing it." So ever since then, I started wearing it. I was a little embarrassed, but then it's personified into its own thing. Now it's expected of me, and I like that it's expected of me, and I'm leaning more and more into it, as you can see, like with my own personal hats from Boshi here. It's a very it means a lot to me. It's felines are also like my favorite animal. They're great. They're just the perfect killing machine. So why not connect yourself with that?
And I think, like, I don't know if you've really thought this fully through, but having a persona like that and having a character, it's probably really smart when it comes to marketing, the marketing perspective, because every fighter has to find a way to differentiate themselves, to stand out. And you can do that, of course, by your performances in the cage. You have to look good. But as you see in the UFC, there's hundreds of fighters in the UFC. There's hundreds of fighters who are in the UFC and out of the UFC. And some of them, I don't even know their names anymore. Like, they come and go. I don't even know who they are. So if you have something to identify yourself to the fans they can latch onto, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, and that's what I like to bring to anything. I don't. How do you say it? I don't just want to go in there and fight and put a good show just in the fight. I want to have a show on the build up, on the marketing, on the after effect, on everything. Like, even I was after the fight, I was wearing, Craven the Hunter.
Yeah, of course.
I was gonna say, yeah. I have the jacket now for it. It's the leather jacket with all the fur and stuff. So now that's after a fight. I walk around, take photos with people. So I want to be, and we're entertainers. We really are as MMA fighters, and MMA has become more of an entertaining sport than even boxing has these days. Like, guys have a shtick when they walk out of their cage. Yeah, Tyson Fury gets carried out by a freaking crown and king of gypsies, but he's really the only one that anyone can reference. Yeah. I want to start being referenced even before I have the title. I want people to be like, "Oh, the lion's coming for that belt." So that's what I want.
You don't see too many fighters going that route. I have a friend of mine named Tristan Johnson. He used to fight in the Maritimes at Extreme Cage Combat. At least one time, I know he came out like Hannibal Lecter. He was put on he had an orange jumpsuit. He had a straight jacket on and a face mask to cover his mouth because Hannibal was a cannibal. And then they put him on a dolly and they lifted up and they wheeled him out to the cage, and it was incredible. The fans went wild.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's I love to see it. The more that kid that came out, that 17-year-old that fought, that just made his debut at the Unified. Him. He was he came out there and he showed off his skills and he looked good. His little gun things. I was like, yeah, I was like, kill it, kid. Keep doing it. I was like, keep doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Leo, this has been a really good chat. It was really nice to talk to you in person for the first time. I'd like to know, though, is there anything that you think I should have asked you that I didn't ask?
Other than what my next plan is that I want the belt, but we have to wait until they're done fighting to call one of them out for the belt. But other than that, I don't think so.
So is that what you want? You want to fight for the belt next?
I want to get the belt. I want to get a title shot at this year or a bigger show title, like another, like maybe the Contender Series or something. But I want that big ticket, that belt, that big ticket to go down to Vegas to fight anything like that. I want that, and I'm willing to fight whoever I need to have that happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're looking great so far. It looks like you've got a lot of potential, so I'm excited to see where you're going to go. I'm just going to wish you best of luck. Keep on training hard, and I'll be watching your fights.
Appreciate it.
Okay, there you go, fight friends. Leo Bonin, just victorious this past weekend at Unified MMA 68. Make sure you watch him in the future. Hey, fight friends, we are joined today by John Moore, a 6-1 professional mixed martial artist out of Calgary, who is fighting at LFA 230 this Friday night in Shawnee, Oklahoma, I think it is. John, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. I'm really happy to get a chance to speak with you. You're one of those guys who you're not part of a big fight team that I'm familiar with, and you're just a guy I haven't ever really spent much time seeing. I mean, you're kind of quiet. Is that like a normal part of your life?
Yeah, I'm not a super out there kind of guy, but the fight team I'm from we're growing. My coach is Jake Peacock. He's in one championship. Very well known in the Muay Thai world. super popular, and we've got honestly, our team is maybe just a little unknown, but we're growing in massive sizes. We've got quite a few pros now, and probably some that we got like John Nguyen and
Yep.
Tim Smith, Atma Brothers, and we've got and tons of amateurs as well.
What's the name of your team?
Dunamis.
Yeah, I was just looking through your Instagram a couple of minutes before we chatted, and I saw Dunamis, and I was it's quite honestly, I'm not familiar with them whatsoever. So I'm
Really?
glad you're I'm glad you're introducing me to them. This is really cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely we're a gym to watch out for sure. We've got tons of pros. We have tons of Muay Thai pros. We have multiple belts and multiple divisions. People ranked in the top 15 on the world stage in Muay Thai and high level MMA, and so definitely a gym to watch out for.
Well, I'm aware of you now, and I'll be making sure that my eyes are wide open for all of you guys. I know the Atma brothers. I know, of course, Tim Smith, John Nguyen. Yeah, all good fighters, all really good fighters. So that's exciting. Let's take a second now. Maybe I should have started off with this, but just take maybe 30 seconds and just talk about yourself. Who are you, where you're from, and how you got involved in combat sports?
Yeah, well, John Moore, I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Born and raised here. I did traditional martial arts when I was a kid. Hapkido, some grappling, stuff like that. It was good to get me in shape and kind of introduce me to that. And then I started watching MMA when I was a teenager, and then I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then after I had kind of started there, I was there for a few months. I think I was like a two-stripe white belt at the time, and I was like, I want to have an MMA fight. And then like a couple days later, Lee Mean from Rumble in the Cage was like, "Hey, someone want to fight in a week and a half?" So then I had that was my amateur debut, doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu and some traditional martial arts, and I actually had my first 4 amateur fights only doing jiu-jitsu and going to a boxing gym, and then I fought someone. And his coach, you've probably heard of him, Brad Cardinal.
Of course.
So I fought one of his guys. Yeah, I fought one of his guys, and then after the fight, I went up to Brad and I was like, "Hey, can I come train with you guys?" And I showed up the next week, and I was there for several years, and then he ended up closing up shop and moving on to other things, and then I started training at Dunamis, and then I go to a couple other gyms. I go to it's called Dojo 9 now, a jiu-jitsu gym, and I also go to Rocky Mountain Jiu-Jitsu. So yeah, it's been an adventure.
How did you find Dunamis as a gym, and how did you pick them?
I knew they were just around. Like I knew a couple people from when I was a kid that were there, and I knew of the coach Jake. Like seen him around, seen him on Instagram, and some of the other gyms at the time in the city. I wasn't particularly interested in going there. I just kind of heard some maybe negative things, and I was like, well, I really want to improve my striking, so where better than a gym with a world-class striking coach? So yeah, I showed up there, and they had at the time it was. The MMA program there was probably, 4 or 5 guys, and then just kind of all like training it in jiu-jitsu and doing Muay Thai there and just kind of building off each other. So I knew there was a good base there, and then I had a few other people that were training with me at Brad's, like Tim Smith we were both training there, and then he was like, "I'm gonna go here," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go here too," and just kind of keep things together. And it's nice to move. If you're going to move a gym, it's nice to move a gym with people that you know. And so.
Yeah, of course, the people that you can trust, because when you're training to fight, it's very important to have people on your same page, because you want to have some people that push you, but you also want to have people that care for you and look out for you, so that when you're training, they're not going to hurt you.
Absolutely. That's it's one of the biggest things I see with so many people is like if training at 110% makes you 10% better, I'd rather train it, 90%, be a little bit worse, and be able to train all the time, not be constantly worried about injuries. And if you can't fight, what's the point? If you're getting injured so you can't train, you can't fight, this is all pointless. Like, we're trying to make a career out of this, and there's so many people out there that are willing to risk it all to secure a takedown or something, and you got to avoid people like that.
You're from Calgary. Is your family there as well? Do you have parents, siblings?
Yeah, parents here. I've got some siblings in Manitoba and Edmonton, but for the most part, we're all still in Calgary.
What's their overall thought process about you being a fighter?
I think the people have gotten used to it. I think my parents have gotten used to it for the most part. They don't tell me to stop all the time anymore. So.
Yeah. How old are you right now, John?
27.
Nice. And your career is a little bit more unusual than maybe some other fighters. You started off, you had a really good amateur career, like you said, with Rumble in the Cage, which, by the way, is Canada's oldest mixed martial arts promotion. It's been around longer than anybody else. And then you're 6-1 as a professional. As I said, you had some fights in Canada. You fought at FLA and a couple others. But then your past 3 fights, you fought at Throne MMA. You fought at Tough Enough, I think it was. And also your last fight was at LFA. And your next fight's at LFA, which is a big organization. How is it that you made the leap from a national Canadian fighter to an international fighter so quickly in your career?
Well, after my first 3 fights in Canada, I had some fights that were going to happen. I had some injuries. I had to pull out of one. And then I had an opportunity. One of my coaches was just, sending like everyone's name in the gym out to promoters over Canada and the US. And I had an opportunity. The fight for Throne was for a title. It was up a weight class, and I was like, oh, that sounds great. Like, having a belt, even, a low-level regional belt is still a belt. And so I was like, oh, that'll be great. Fight there. And then I had that fight. And then after that, I signed with my management company that I'm with now. It's All Fight Management. And they had some connections with Tough Enough. Or actually, no, after my 4th fight, then I had one more with Throne. That was actually, so that was my 5th professional fight. It was one of the hardest fights just to get to. A day before weigh-ins, I got a fever and I got a really bad eye infection. So I'm at a fight day in the back room and stuff. I'm like shaking with chills, trying to warm up. And I go out there, and thankfully I got a first round finish, but it was mentally very difficult to get myself into the fight and get there, but I got the win. And then after that fight, I signed with my management company, and they had some bigger connections with Tough Enough and LFA, so that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, that's awesome. LFA, of course, Legacy Fighting Alliance. They've got a large viewership. They're on UFC Fight Pass. Or did they just leave UFC Fight Pass? I think maybe they.
I think they just left it. I think
yeah.
If you're in the US, it's on Vice, and everywhere else is YouTube, I believe.
Regardless, they've got a long history of promoting their fighters to the UFC. They've sent literally hundreds of their fighters to the UFC, so it's probably not a bad spot for you to be, is it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great promotion for that. As you say, I do have, every single time there's a UFC card, you'll see LFA posting about their alumni that are on the card. And so, yeah, it's definitely one of the big UFC feeders for sure.
Okay. I'm just going to take a second and scroll my eyeballs over to your fight page. Well, your fight page on my website, MMA. And you're fighting a guy named David Wright this weekend. What do you know about David Wright, and how do you see yourself taking him out?
Well, he's a southpaw, big guy. Seems like he's explosive. Wrestling background, I believe, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. Comes from a good jiu-jitsu gym. I believe it's Rafael Lovato Jr. is his coach. So good grappling overall, and seems like he's got power in his hands. So watching out for that. But I think it's a very winnable fight with implementing movement and I don't want to say too much, but moving and just wearing him out, working on. Seems like he wears out during the fight.
Okay.
And so just finding my moment to pick the shot and hopefully get a maybe a late first or second round finish on him.
Do you prefer a finish by submission or knockout?
Uh, it'd be kind of fun to have a submission. My background's actually grappling, but all my fights have mostly been stand up. So it'd be fun to get a submission, but it really
Yeah.
finish is a finish.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier on as well, that you were really grappling heavy at the start. Now that you've spent a lot more time training and preparing, how do you evaluate yourself as a fighter now? What's your skill set like? What are you good at? What are you still working on? What is something that you think is your major strength?
Uh, yeah, I think overall I'm quite well rounded. I think I've shown that in my fights. I've got several ground and pound TKO finishes, and I've knocked people out on the feet. I've demonstrated some, I think, pretty technical striking overall, and I think a big strength of mine is game planning. Honestly, I feel like me and my team we game plan really well, and like most of my fights kind of go exactly how we plan. Like, oh, we're gonna do this and this and this, and just watch out for that. And when he does this, do this. So I've found that that's definitely a big strength of mine. Um, yeah.
Who's going to be going with you down to the States? Your coach, Jake? Anybody else?
Uh, he's not actually going to be coming down to me. I'm going to have my one coach, Shane Ball, and then another jiu-jitsu coach from the gym, Alex Marquette.
Yeah,
Probably
of
heard of
course.
him.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I didn't know it was pronounced Marquette. I always thought it was Market, but now you let me know. So that's
Yeah.
good to know as well.
No, you're right. You're right. It totally is market. I always hear it so many different ways, and I can never keep it straight.
I just didn't know. So yeah, I'll take your word for it. Okay, I'm right. Yay. All right, cool. All right, so assuming everything goes great this weekend, you wake up on Saturday morning, reflect on the night before, maybe you're still awake, and you think about your victory where your arm was raised. What did that fight look like to you? What's a perfect fight for John Moore?
Just going out there, controlling the range, uh, being elusive, being evasive. In my last fight, made some mistakes on uh, range control and distance management and things that I've in my previous fights been really good at. But sometimes you just go out there and you do something stupid. So I think the perfect fight will be being evasive, picking the shots, not just getting into a brawl, just having a precise technical breakdown of them.
Yeah, sounds fair enough to me, as long as you get your arm raised anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, John, last question. Is there anything that you think we should have talked about that I didn't mention?
Cool. Well, I guess, yeah, I think we covered everything pretty well.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure we'll get a chance to speak at some point again in the future because it looks like your future's bright. So I just wanted to say thank you. Appreciate your time. Would you like to thank anybody, family, friends, sponsors?
Yeah, I think my family, my wife, very supportive. Thanks to my sponsor that I have right now, Frontline Paralegal and Dynamic YYC. Any sponsors I've ever had, it's such a massive blessing to go into a fight, even with just a little bit of extra help covering expenses and stuff. So, yeah, big thanks to them.
Oh, it's huge for sure. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, John, that's it. Thank you so much again. And there you go, fight friends. John Moore fighting at Legacy Fighting Alliance 230 in Shawnee, Oklahoma this Friday night. Make sure you watch it. Ian Stoby, welcome to the MMA show. It's great to see you again, and I want to give you a big congratulations on an excellent win at Samourai MMA 18 last weekend.
Thanks, Andy. Feels good.
You're 3-0 as a professional, and your last fight, as I just mentioned, was at Samourai 18. I don't like over-exaggerating too much, but I think it's safe to say that it was a domination on your part in that fight. How did you feel about that fight afterwards, about your performance?
Yeah, I felt really good. I was talking to Richard afterward, and I was always kind of want to show more in my fights, but I take the easiest path to victory, I took him down and then he didn't really give me much resistance and just kind of smashed him there.
just what you said right there, it's prompted me to ask you a question now that I was intending to ask later on. And this is a question I ask a lot of fighters because it interests me. And based on what you just said, I think I know the answer. Would you rather have a fight, perform excellently in it, and win in impressive fashion by either submission or TKO, or submission or KO in the first 10 seconds of the fight or in the last 10 seconds of the fight?
Probably first 10 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
last 10 seconds would feel maybe a little bit more fulfilling. But I mean, if I can get in a fight or get out of a fight and not injured, I feel like that's best case scenario. You know, I'm healthy.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Good answer. Good answer. Okay, Ian, before we get too far into this, would you mind just taking 60 seconds and just introducing yourself to the fans who might not know who you are yet, but they will in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Ian Stoby. If you don't know my name, I'm 3-0 as a pro now. I'm 23 years old, living and training out of Montreal under Richard Ho at H2O MMA. And yeah, that's my introduction.
There you go. So 3-0, and you clearly didn't take any damage. Well, not that I saw anyway in the last fight. So you're probably already back to training already. If I know guys of your type, you're probably maybe not training hardcore yet, but you're back in the gym and you're getting ready for whatever's next. What does your future career look like to you? How do you want it to go?
Oh, my future career. I mean, I'm with Samourai right now, and I think I'll stay with them for the next maybe year, 2 years. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm going to be fighting in June back home in Grand Prairie. My uncle, Bill Mahood's putting on a professional and amateur show this June, so I'll fight on that show. I think I'm going to main event that.
I didn't
And then
know that
after
Bill
that,
Mahood was your uncle. Holy moly, that's impressive.
yeah,
He's
you didn't know
MMA.
that?
I didn't know he was your uncle. Yeah, he's Canadian royalty, man.
Yeah. No, so I'm really lucky to have him. And I feel like most people don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I cut you off. You said you might headline that card?
Yeah, well, I'm going to headline that card.
Wow.
So it's just a matter of matchmaking and finding an opponent for me.
That's incredible. That's like probably the first time I've been caught by surprise in quite a while about something like this. No, I've known Bill for years. He, for fans who don't know, Bill was like a couple generations ago when he came up with Dennis Kang and Jason the Athlete McDonald, all in Alberta, British Columbia, that area. And they were really pioneers in Canadian mixed martial arts. So when you were growing up, was he a big part of your life? Is that what brought you to become a mixed martial artist?
Bill is probably the reason I am where I am today. You know, without him, he was always pushing me, you know, because I started with Taekwondo, and then when I was 11 or 12, my uncle, or Bill, he moved to my town, started teaching MMA, and then I would go in and get beat up by all the 30, 35-year-olds, and me, I'm like 11, 12-year-old, you know. So I kind of grew up underneath him, and then, yeah, the rest is history.
I'm so happy for you. That's incredible. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, you also mentioned a few minutes ago Richard Ho, of course, Coach Richard Ho from H2O MMA. I've met Richard a handful of times. A very quiet, unassuming man, and I've been told that in the training room he's very similar. Like he's patient, he's mostly calm and quiet, but that kind of energy that he shares, I'm guessing it probably gives you guys a lot of comfort in the gym when he's coaching.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his style of coaching I really like. Kind of laid back, but he also knows when to kind of push us and tell us what we need to work on, you know, without always whipping us, you know. So it's a nice balance. Richard's great.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at your fight style. You've been training for quite a while now. Would you describe your fight style as grappling heavy or striking heavy, or are you really well-rounded?
I'm well-rounded, man. I think I can grapple just as good as I can strike. I can wrestle just as good as my jiu-jitsu. I like grappling, you know, and it seems like in every fight I'm finishing guys on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just because the level of the guys I'm fighting, their jiu-jitsu is not up to mine, and maybe they're better strikers. But we'll see. In the next couple fights, maybe I'm going to start finishing people on the feet. It's just the way things have been going.
Mm-hmm. You never know.
Yeah.
Take us through a typical training week for you.
Typical week. Well, I'm pretty much training twice a day, Monday to Friday, and then Saturday I'll spar, and then Sunday usually I'll do something light and either recovery or go for a run. So yeah, pretty much 2-a-days throughout the week, and then weekends a little bit more chill.
Talk about your environment at H2 MMA. I know, of course, a handful of your more well-known teammates, Mike Dufour, Fred Duprat, other fighters like that. Olivier Aubé-Mercier used to be there. Talk about some of the other training partners you have and what it's like being in that training room.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Michael Dufour, he's great. He's a beast. He's a lightweight, and he never complains. I'm like probably 30 pounds heavier than him, and he's still freaking choking me out most sessions. So Mick's great. Fred's great too. He's a beast. We got a bunch of amateurs coming up, bigger guys that give me good rounds. And yeah, and then Richard's always there too, kind of overseeing everything. So we got a good thing going on there.
It must be a really cool feeling knowing that you're in something with other people and you're all working together in unison to build it up and grow it, and just to imagine where it's going to be in the future. It's got to be exciting.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to be surrounded by other professionals. Like that's one of the things too. Back in Grand Prairie, I mean, Bill and Luis Martinez, we had amazing coaches, and I had some good training partners, Alex Martinez. But the problem is that there's not a lot of fighters that are doing that as a career. Whereas here in Montreal, I'm surrounded by, we're all like-minded. We all want to make it to the big show. So it's kind of motivating seeing guys like Mick putting the work and Fred and all these guys doing well in big shows. So it kind of builds a path for me.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Ian, I don't think I have anything else to ask, but except my last question for you is if there's anything that you think we should have talked about that I didn't ask you.
Anything, nothing comes to mind. I mean, what do you want to know? I can tell you anything.
Oh, that's pretty much it for now. I think, yeah, it's really interesting to see your progression so far, because I didn't actually get to watch you perform live as an amateur, but I as a professional, definitely you're looking really good, man. You look really sharp, and you're one of those fighters where you just get an idea. I don't know if you know this, if anybody else has told you this, but when I anyway look at fighters, I can sort of get a sense of their trajectory, how they're going to go, if they have potential, or if they're just like somebody who's going to, be a 50-50 fighter. I get the feeling like you're somebody who could go really far in the sport if you choose to.
Yeah, man, that's the goal. I've been at this since I was 14, 15 with the goal to make it to the big show. So I'm all in on this.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm all in as a fan, get to watch you. It's pretty exciting. Before we go, is there any final words, anything you'd like to say, anyone you'd like to thank?
I mean, I guess I'll give a big shout out to my team, Richard Ho, all my training partners, and all my family, friends back home for tuning in to the fights. They're just going to get more and more exciting, so stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, Ian, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it. And there you go, fight friends. Ian Stoby, victorious in his third professional MMA fight at Samourai MMA 18 last weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.